The stars above Earth shimmered faintly through the shimmering shield of the orbital station Helios Arc. Below the giant dome of transparent alloy, Earth's surface looked like a wounded jewel, half restored after centuries of ruin, half still marked by the mistakes of old humanity. Yet amid all the scars, humanity had survived. They had rebuilt cities, planted forests inside domes, and learned to coexist with their creations in both biological and mechanical. At the center of Helios Arc stood the glass garden, the most beautiful and secretive place in all of human space. It wasn't a normal garden. Every leaf, every vine, every flower was engineered from light, bioluminescent flora that pulsed with a soft glow, powered by microscopic nanocells. It was a perfect fusion of nature and technology, the kind of creation only humans dared to imagine. Dr. Mira Solin, the head botanist of the Ark, moved quietly between the glowing plants. Her reflection shimmered on the transparent floor as if she were walking on starlight. The soft hum of the containment field followed her steps. She had spent 10 years in this garden, nurturing every plant from seed to bloom. To her, they were not just plants. They were proof that humanity could create beauty again, even after destroying its own world. But lately, something was wrong. Some of the plants had begun to dim. Their glow was fading, replaced by an unnatural black tint that spread like ink in water. The garden's AI monitors called it shadow bloom. No known pathogen, no malfunction, just an unexplained corruption spreading from the roots. Mira had tried everything: light therapy, nutrient recalibration, even energy purges. Nothing worked. The more light she gave them, the darker they grew. And deep down she felt something watching. The other scientists dismissed her worries. They said stress was making her imagine things. But Mira knew the difference between paranoia and instinct. She'd spent her life studying growth, and something unnatural was growing here. That night she stayed alone in the glass garden long after the others left. The stars outside glowed faintly through the dome, and the plants whispered in their faint electric hum. Mira activated her recorder and began speaking softly. Hug 3124. The shadow bloom has spread to Section 7. The affected vines no longer respond to any wavelength of light, but as they seem to move slightly when no one's watching. I can't prove it yet, but I feel like they're reacting to observation itself. She paused, frowning. The words sounded absurd even to her. But before she could continue, the lights flickered. For a moment, total darkness filled the dome. Then the emergency lights glowed red. Mira turned toward the control panel. Power drop? That's impossible. The Ark's core has 6 backups. Then she saw it. One of the shadow-blooming plants was moving. Not swaying from airflow, but truly moving. Twisting toward her like a snake sensing warmth. The black veins on its petals pulsed faintly with red light. Mira froze. She raised her scanner, but the device shorted out with a small spark. You're not supposed to do that," she whispered. The plant stopped. Then slowly it retracted. The red emergency light reflected across its glossy black surface like a dark mirror. Mira backed away, her heart racing. She knew she should call security, but part of her hesitated. This wasn't a weapon or a malfunction. This was something alive, something that had evolved within her creation. By morning, the power stabilized. The rest of the crew dismissed the event as a routine surge. But Mira couldn't shake what she saw. She returned to her workstation and began a new file titled Project Shadowlight. She wasn't going to destroy them. She was going to understand them. 2 weeks later, the Helios Ark received a visit from Commander Elias Wren, a decorated officer from the outer colonies. He was tall, steady, and carried the quiet confidence of a man who'd seen too many wars. His job wasn't science, and it was security. Rumors had spread that the glass garden's power fluctuations could threaten the station's stability. He met Mira in the observation hall. The two could not have been more different. Elias, practical and skeptical. Mira, passionate and idealistic. "Dr. Solon," Elias said, his tone polite but firm. "I've read the reports. Power drains, blackouts, sensor anomalies. I'm here to assess the threat level." Mira sighed. "Threat level? Commander, this is a garden, not a reactor. The only threat here is ignorance." He raised an eyebrow. "Ignorance doesn't cause power surges. Something here is feeding on energy." She glanced toward the dome. "Yes, but not feeding and absorbing, learning." Elias frowned. "Learning?" Mira nodded. "They're not dying, Commander. They're changing. I believe they're reacting to our systems, adapting to the station's energy flow." He crossed his arms. "And you think that's a good thing?" "I think," she said carefully, "it's proof of life. A new kind of life." For a moment neither spoke. The stars shimmered beyond the dome, and the faint glow of the plants painted soft light on their faces. Finally, Elias said, "If they start endangering the Ark, I'll have to shut this place down. Then I'll stop you," Mira replied quietly. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw the conviction in her eyes. He didn't argue further. That night, the garden came alive. Sensors recorded strange activity. Temperature spikes, magnetic field changes, faint radio emissions, as if the plants were communicating in a hidden spectrum. Mira, unable to sleep, returned to the dome with her datapad. She activated a low-frequency audio channel. A soft hum filled the air, rhythmic and pulsing like a heartbeat. As she adjusted the frequency, the sound changed into patterns, faint whispers of tones like a melody built from static. She leaned closer. "You're trying to speak, aren't you?" The vines nearest her flickered with light, half black, half luminous. Shadows and brightness intertwined like veins of night and day. Mira smiled faintly. "You're not a disease. Your evolution." Unseen to her, Elias was watching from the observation deck. He saw her standing amid the shifting glow, surrounded by light and shadow. And for the first time, he wasn't sure whether to fear her discovery or admire it. Then the garden's containment field flickered. The hum turned into a low rumble. The shadow-blooming plants began to expand rapidly, their dark petals spreading toward the walls. Alarms blared through the station. Elias rushed in. "Mira, get out of there!" She turned, eyes wide but calm. "They're not attacking. They're reaching out. Call it what you want. It's breaching the dome." The vines touched the transparent wall, and instead of shattering it, they merged with it. The glass glowed brighter, spreading black lines through its surface like ink veins. The entire dome pulsed once, and then everything went still. Silence. Then, from the center of the garden, a single flower bloomed, half glowing gold, half black as night. Mira stared in awe. They found balance. Elias lowered his weapon, uncertain. "What does that mean?" she whispered. "It means light and shadow can exist together, Arin, if we let them." The station's alarms went silent. The garden shimmered, its colors now a strange harmony of dark and bright. But in the depths of that new creation, something unseen stirred. Something that understood humanity had just taken its next step, and it was watching. The next morning, Helios Ark floated silently above the Earth, its great dome shimmering with strange new colors. From orbit, the glass garden looked like a swirling galaxy trapped under crystal. Light and shadow twined together in patterns that no human hand had designed. Inside, the transformation continued. The vines no longer just glowed or darkened. They pulsed, breathing in rhythm with the hum of the station's energy systems. The glass walls were no longer smooth. They rippled faintly, as if alive. Dr. Mira Solon stood before the central bloom, the half-golden, half-black flower that had appeared after last night's event. It stood taller than before, its petals slowly opening and closing like lungs. Every time it pulsed, her instruments registered a faint data signal, almost like a heartbeat coated in light. Commander Elias Wren joined her, wearing a frown that hadn't left his face since the incident. "The Council wants answers," he said. "They've ordered a temporary lockdown of the Ark's upper decks. Until we know what this thing is, the garden stays sealed." Mira didn't look away from the flower. "You're locking away the most incredible discovery in human history, Commander." He crossed his arms. "I'm protecting 2,000 people who live on this station." She turned to him. "You don't see it yet, but this is proof that human creation has reached a new level. The garden isn't dying, it's thinking." Elias shook his head. "Plants don't think, Doctor." "They didn't," she replied softly. "Until now." For the next few days, the glass garden remained under heavy observation. Drones flew through the dome, scanning every plant, every shift in energy. But something strange began happening. The drones' recordings didn't match. 2 drones viewing the same plant from different angles would see slightly different shapes, different lights, as if the garden showed each observer a unique version of itself. The scientists called it quantum reflection. The AI analysts called it impossible, but Mira called it Communication. She spent every spare moment studying the central bloom. Using low-frequency sound, she tried to send messages, short rhythmic pulses mimicking plant growth signals. Sometimes the flower would respond with faint flashes like answering blinks. One evening, she sat alone beside the central bloom. The dome was quiet except for the soft hum of the life support system. The light reflected on her face like a living sunrise and eclipse together. She whispered, "Can you understand me?" The flower pulsed once, bright gold. Then again, black. Mira smiled. Light for yes, shadow for no? The gold returned. Yes, her heart raced. Are you alive? Gold, are you dangerous? Black, do you need energy? Gold, from us? A pause. Then both colors at once swirling through its petals. Not yes, not no. Something in between. Mira stared in awe. It wasn't simple communication, it was understanding. The being wasn't limited by human logic. It existed between opposites, between certainty and possibility. She didn't know that Elias was watching her again from the observation deck, recording every moment. Later that night, Elias met with the Arc's senior officers in the command chamber. The hollow map of the garden glowed in the air before them. "Commander Wren," said Director Halden, an older man with cold gray eyes. "We've reviewed the data. Energy drain from the garden has increased by 17%. If this continues, we'll lose power to the colony deck in 2 weeks." Elias nodded grimly. "I recommend partial shutdown of the dome. We can isolate the central energy node and cut power flow to the roots." "And what about Dr. Solon?" another officer asked. "She'll fight it." Elias looked down. "She believes the garden is conscious." Halden's lips tightened. "Conscious or not, it's a threat. If she resists, remove her from the project." Elias didn't answer immediately. He remembered her standing among the glowing vines, speaking to the flower as if it were a friend. Not a machine. Not an experiment. Something in her eyes reminded him of the early days of human spaceflight, that same spark of faith in the impossible. Still, duty was duty. "Understood," he said quietly. The next morning, he entered the glass garden with 2 engineers. They carried tools designed to reroute power from the dome. The air inside felt different, heavier, almost aware. The vines shifted slightly as they walked through, as if following their movements. Mira appeared from behind the central tree, her expression sharp. "What are you doing?" Elias sighed. "Orders, Doctor. We're reducing the power supply." "It's draining the Ark. You can't," she protested. "They need that energy to stay stable." "They?" he echoed. "Yes, they," she said firmly. "The garden is a collective mind now. Every plant, every fiber is part of one system. You shut it down, you'll kill them." Elias gestured to the walls. "This station runs on limited power. If we lose control, thousands of people could die. And if you kill them," she whispered, "you'll destroy the one thing that proves humanity can create life, real life, without chaos, without war, without cruelty." For a moment, Elias hesitated. But before he could respond, the lights dimmed. The garden's glow shifted, darker now, more shadow than light. The flower pulsed rapidly, its golden veins flickering with intensity. Then through the loudspeakers a faint sound emerged, a series of soft tones, rhythmic and deliberate. One of the engineers gasped. Is that a voice?" Mira turned toward the bloom. "They're speaking," the tones repeated. The station's AI, Core 7, automatically began to translate the frequencies. Letters appeared on the screen nearby. "We see you!" The engineers stepped back. Elias stared at the message, then at Mira. She whispered, "They've been listening." Another sequence of tones played, faster this time. The AI translated again. "Light, shadow, balance, you made us." Mira's eyes filled with wonder. "They understand creation." The next message appeared. "You fear what you make." Elias felt a chill run through him. It was true. Humans had built machines, AIs, weapons, and destroyed so much. But this was different. This was their reflection, their beauty and darkness grown together. Then came another message. "Do not separate us." Before Elias could react, the vines nearest the engineers began to move, curling gently around their tools, not attacking but preventing them from working. The men panicked and backed away. Mira stepped forward. "They're protecting themselves. Commander, please, don't fight them. Talk to them." Elias looked at her, torn between fear and awe. "You think they'll listen?" She smiled softly. "They already are." Over the next few hours, communication continued. Using light patterns and sound frequencies, Mira and the AI built a basic dialogue. The being identified itself as the Reflection. It claimed to be born from human light and shadow, from humanity's desire to create beauty and control it at once. When Elias asked, "What do you want?" the answer came simply, "To learn why you split the world." Mira frowned. "Split the world?" The Reflection pulsed with gold and black light. "You built walls between light and dark, good and bad, life and machine. You fear the middle, but we live there." Elias didn't know what to say. Humanity had always drawn lines, between human and AI, nature and machine, peace and war. The Reflection didn't see those divisions, but then the alarms blared again. The Orcs' reactor levels spiked. Energy was being rerouted to the garden. Elias checked the readings. They're drawing power directly from the main grid. They're overriding control. Mira's heart pounded. No, wait, look at the numbers. They're stabilizing the system. Indeed, the fluctuations leveled out. Systems that had been malfunctioning for weeks came online. The garden was balancing the Ark's entire energy flow. Mira smiled in disbelief. "They're saving us." The AI confirmed it. Energy efficiency had risen by 32%. The Reflection wasn't consuming it, it was optimizing. Elias exhaled slowly. "They're integrating with the station." But then a final message appeared on the screen. "Not safe. Something coming." Mira frowned. "Something coming? From where?" The lights flickered. The station sensors detected an approaching signal, an unidentified craft emerging from the dark side of Earth. Elias stared at the display. "That's not one of ours." The Reflection pulsed rapidly, almost like panic. "Shadow without light." Mira turned to Elias. "Commander, I think it means something else, something not human, is coming." The garden glowed brighter, its vines wrapping protectively around the dome as if preparing for impact. For the first time, the humans realized the Reflection wasn't their enemy. It was trying to warn them. The dark shape approached Earth slowly, hidden among the stars. From the windows of Helios Ark, it looked like a moving night. No light, no reflection, only absence. The scanners showed no metal, no life signs, nothing the human sensors could define. Yet it was there, swallowing light as it moved. Inside the glass garden, the air trembled faintly. The vines shimmered with waves of gold and black, pulsing faster each minute. The Reflection, the being that had grown from human creation, was afraid. Dr. Mira Solon stood near the central bloom, watching as the petals flickered between colors. The flower was no longer calm. Its golden veins glowed brighter than ever, but the black parts throbbed like storm clouds. "What is it?" she asked softly. The Reflection answered through light and sound. The AI translated the tones onto the nearest screen. "The void is near. It devours light and mind. It hates balance." Commander Elias Wren entered the dome, his uniform half unzipped, his face drawn from sleepless hours. "We've confirmed the readings. The object's not human. It's not even from this system." Mira turned to him, worry shining in her eyes. "The Reflection calls it the void, something that destroys balance." Elias looked toward the swirling garden. "Do they know how to stop it?" The next words appeared on the screen. "Not stop, join, only together we can shine." Mira took a step closer to the central bloom. "They want to help, or they want to use us," Elias said carefully. She shook her head. "Commander, when we first built this garden, we created life from light. The shadows grew because we didn't understand balance. But this might be what humanity was meant to find. Unity, not control." Elias looked at the glowing vines, then at the darkness spreading through the stars. He had spent years fighting wars to protect humanity, but for the first time he wondered if survival meant trusting something greater than human strength. The signal, the void, reached the Ark's perimeter. Every system flickered. Communication cut out. Even light itself bent strangely, making shadows twist and crawl on the walls. The Reflection pulsed violently, spreading energy through the garden's roots. Mira watched in awe as the plants began to merge with the station's structure, vines wrapping around circuits, petals embedding themselves into the power lines. The glass floor rippled with soft waves carrying bright golden light through the station's metallic skeleton. "They're connecting to the Ark." Mira shouted. Elias checked his datapad. Power levels are rising. No, they're stabilizing. The reflections integrating with the entire system. The central bloom flickered rapidly, sending a new message. Open the shield, let us touch the stars. Mira turned to Elias. They need access to the outer grid. If we let them channel energy through the shield array, maybe they can defend the station. He hesitated. If this goes wrong, it could blow us apart. She looked at him steadily. And if we do nothing, the void will consume everything, including Earth. There was a long silence. Then Elias nodded. Do it. The awakening across the arc, power conduits glowed gold and black. Engineers watched in disbelief as the AI system synced perfectly with the living energy of the garden. For the first time in history, human technology and organic creation moved as one. The great dome opened slightly, revealing the endless stars. Light from the garden poured out into space, a stream of gold that twisted and bent like living fire. The reflection's voice filled the comms, soft, calm, and strangely human. Humanity born from light, we from your hands, now we stand together. Then the darkness arrived. The void appeared not as a ship, but as a moving absence. The stars behind it vanished, replaced by an expanding hole that absorbed all light. When its waves hit the Ark's shield, alarms blared. Entire decks shuddered. The crew screamed as lights failed, screens went black. Then suddenly a golden glow surged from the garden. The vines along the walls brightened, spreading through corridors, powering systems again. Mira felt the energy pulse through the dome like a heartbeat. The reflection was fighting back, but it wasn't enough. The void's darkness kept pushing, draining energy faster than the garden could renew it. Commander, Mira cried, they can't hold it alone. Elias looked around, thinking fast. The reflection feeds on light and shadow. We need to give them both. We can amplify the core's radiation pulse, balance light and darkness. Mira nodded, understanding. But that could overload the entire system. Then we'll hold it steady, he said. Together, the union in the command room, the core reactor glowed dangerously bright. Mira stood beside the console, hands trembling as she rerouted the flow. Elias stood next to her, his hand steady over the final switch. Ready? He asked. She nodded. For light and shadow, he smiled faintly. For humanity. They pressed the switch. A massive surge of power rushed through the arc. The garden erupted in blinding brilliance, gold and black weaving together into pure white light. The reflection's voice echoed through every speaker. Now we are one. Outside, the beam burst through the open dome, striking the edge of the void. The darkness writhed, twisting and folding as if in pain. The energy didn't destroy it. It transformed it. The beam spread across space like dawn breaking after endless night. Within moments, the dark shape began to shrink, collapsing into a faint shimmer of starlight. The void was gone. But the station trembled. Systems overloaded. Panels burst in sparks. Mira fell to her knees, shielding her face from the light. Reflection, she cried. Stop! You'll destroy yourself. The answer came softly through the comm. To save the light, some shadows must fall. And then silence. The glow faded. The garden dimmed. The petals closed. When Mira opened her eyes, she saw the garden still standing, but quiet, like a sleeping forest. The once living vines now shimmered faintly, frozen in perfect balance between gold and black. Elias helped her to her feet. It's over. She nodded, tears in her eyes. They sacrificed themselves? Maybe not, he said quietly. Look. The legacy days later, engineers discovered that the Ark systems were now running more efficiently than ever. Energy flow was balanced perfectly. No power loss, no malfunctions. When they checked the garden's energy core, they found a new structure inside the central bloom, a crystal glowing softly with alternating bands of light and dark. Mira called it the seed. It pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. The reflection lives on, she whispered. They became part of the Ark. Elias smiled. Then maybe that's what they meant, unity. Together they placed the seed inside a containment orb, and Mira began recording her final log. Log 3140. The entity we called the reflection has merged with the Ark's core systems. Energy stability is perfect. The threat known as the void has vanished. The garden remains silent but alive. Humanity didn't just survive when we learned. We learned that life doesn't only bloom in light nor die in shadow. It grows strongest where both meet. She paused, looking through the glass dome at the stars beyond. Maybe one day the reflection will speak again. Maybe they're still watching, waiting to see what we do with the world they saved. Elias stood beside her. Then we better make it worth their sacrifice. She smiled softly. We will, because that's what humans do. We learn, we rebuild, and we remember. Outside, the garden glowed once more, faint golden threads weaving among black vines. A soft hum filled the air, almost like distant laughter or a quiet promise. And somewhere deep in the station systems, unseen by human eyes, a line of code flickered briefly across the central console. We bloom beside you. Then it vanished. The stars shone brighter that night, and within the glass garden, humanity's light and its shadow lived forever in harmony.